what actually you do though. What is Bolsterup? So how do you solve that fragmentation of the construction industry?
What we're doing is that we want to include in this everyone that's contributing to the construction industry, irrespective of whether they're an architect or a supplier, a designer, a consultant. They're working towards building something and creating something. And sometimes these people are not, like, no one knows who did the work. So you usually know of the architect, of the developer, and that's pretty much it, right? So we're bringing everyone together because they need each other. It's what Sotiris said, demand and supply. So they need to be able to find each other, to build new projects, to create new work, and do like good matchmaking, because not all teams can work well together. So he came to me, he said, this is the idea.
I'm
really
here to
believe in
ruin your
it."
life.
Yeah. And I said, I think you're right. This is wow. Like, this
There is
needs to be
something
solved.
there.
Yeah.
But then you choose who you become
Yeah.
founders with.
Yeah.
That's,
But it's so important, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
to,
The
so
most
to have
important thing.
personal and technical and divergent set of skills.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I think it's one of the most important things that you
Yeah.
like. It's the foundation, and if
Yeah.
you don't have that foundation, if you don't get that right, it will bite you
Yeah.
the ass later.
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
So,
no, 100%. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Made in Cyprus, big business stories from a tiny island. And today with me, we have Joanna and Sotiris from Bolsterup. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Martin.
How's
Martin.
is going? How was the ride here from, you coming from Nicosia, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
both
both
of
coming
us.
from Nicosia.
Ah, you both are. How was it?
Good. Yeah, traffic
Lot of
along the
traffic.
way. Yeah, always on the way to Limassol. But
I think on the way back it will be a bit easier. You guys are touching a problem dear to many, especially here in Cyprus, especially here in Limassol, which is something that has to do with the disconnection and the fragmentation of the construction industry with your startup Bolsterup. Tell me a bit more about it.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having us here.
Pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. Let me go back to where the problem was first spotted. The founding team, me, Joanna, Alejandro, we're all in Australia. I was working for a multinational company contractor in Australia, leading a design and build project, stadium project. And I had to bring together the team with the experience to work with us and complete the project. So my first stop was to search for companies that worked, the team behind the project, the stadium project in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. So the information that I could gather digitally, Googling around, searching around, was very limited, fragmented, no transparency. So in the end, I ended up relying in word of mouth, traditional methods.
Wow.
My personal network, company's network. So the gap was clear, and that's when I went to Joanna and later to Alejandro, and we all started working for brainstorming for the solution.
and if you
Amazing.
can spot a problem like that in Australia, like, can you extrapolate that by 10?
I was gonna say,
That in-
imagine if that is happening in Sydney, in Australia, what must happen in Cyprus, right? Where the level of digitalization is much lower. So
Exactly.
basically the problem was that you have this massive construction project, and you just couldn't find the right people for it. Yeah.
Exactly. That was so hard to find.
And he's talking about, probably he was looking for more than 200 companies to kind
Wow.
of join the team. Because if you think about the stadium, you're looking for things like, you were saying, food and beverage designer. Like, what even is that? You know what I mean?
Very
So,
niche,
yeah,
very
very
specific.
niche.
Yeah, the technology specialist for projects, the terrain suppliers, even
The massive billboards that they have, like, in the
Exactly,
stadiums, where
yeah.
do you get that from? So yeah, it's and the same applies to smaller projects, right?
Yeah.
We're not just talking about major infrastructure.
Yeah.
Same thing applies to I don't know, like, even like apartment buildings. It's always, you don't really have the information to choose the right team. You can find someone.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to be the right person. So
And Sotiri, you were in the industry, right? So you're a civil engineer, right? Correct me?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer on the background. I worked for many years in Dubai, 7 years, then 2 years in Australia, and the last 4 years I'm here in Cyprus.
Nice. So I love having traveled Cypriots back in the country. What took you back?
Family, basically.
No.
Because both me and my wife, we come from Cyprus.
Yeah.
Our family is here, so yeah.
And so you were someone living and breathing the problem. What about you, Joanna?
I wasn't at the time. I was living and breathing startup and product and AI and all of that. And we've known each other since forever. Like we went to uni together. We were flatmates actually, which is funny. And his wife was my best friend at university, and that's how they met. So
that story is not Cypriot at all. Huh?
Like we've known each other since we were like 19, right? So and we were like very like best friends and everything. So we're like nomads, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
So we started in Manchester. We came back to Cyprus. No one could take it. All of us were like, why did we do that? Should we leave again? He left, kind of accidentally went to Dubai. Obviously, civil engineering Dubai, massive. So great opportunity. And then we started traveling, all of us together. So I moved to Dubai as well. And then I left, I moved to Australia. Then
we moved to
Sotiris and
Australia.
Olivia moved to Australia. So yeah, we do that. We just travel around in kind of
amazing.
groups.
So you
We'll see where the next stop is soon.
amazing. So you already were a team in a way,
exactly.
without really knowing.
Back then, he came to me with the idea, and I was very deep into what I was doing. Back then, I was loving it. I was working for a startup in Sydney. AI, I was the head of product at the time, and I was just loving my job. So he came to me, he said, this is the idea.
I'm really here to ruin your life.
Yeah. And I said, I think you're right. This is wow. Like this needs to be solved.
There.
Yeah.
But at the time it was like, both of us were like super busy. But then the stars aligned and we moved back because of COVID. I moved back because of COVID. And so this was like insisting.
I was desperate for her to come back because I first moved and a couple of years later they moved.
Yeah.
And basically I was waiting for her to come back and start doing something. On
So
this.
yeah, when we landed, he was like, no, I'm still like insisting on this. So he put out like presentations, like trying to convince me. And then I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's just go do it. And we went to a competition, the Cyprus Entrepreneurship Competition, just on a whim, I would say. And then they chose us to actually compete, and then we won. So with just a business plan, like on paper, nothing else.
Amazing.
And at that point we said, okay, now we actually have to do it.
Amazing. What actually you do though? What is Bolsterup? So how do you solve that fragmentation of the construction industry?
Yeah. So in simple terms, Bolsterup, it's an ecosystem connecting projects, businesses, companies, products, showcasing their work, their services, the teams behind the projects, and bringing together the demand and the supply side in a single space. And thus creating a matchmaking mechanism and for networking, collaborations, upcoming projects.
Okay, so when you say ecosystem, means that everyone involved into it benefits, right?
Yes.
How so?
Everyone, like what we're doing is that we want to include in this everyone that's contributing to the construction industry, irrespective of whether they're an architect or a supplier, a designer, a consultant. They're working towards building something and creating something. And sometimes these people are not, like, no one knows who did the work. So you usually know of the architect, of the developer, and that's pretty much it, right? So we're bringing everyone together because they need each other. It's what Sotiris said, demand and supply. So they need to be able to find each other, to build new projects, to create new work, and do like good matchmaking, because not all teams can work well together. You need to find specialized people sometimes, especially businesses, to deliver on something big, and that's what we're doing. So sometimes we describe it to investors mostly as the LinkedIn of the construction industry, with Match.com on top of it, but with kind of verified work, not like LinkedIn where you can say I'm the CEO of NASA and people are like, yeah, sure.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah, it is a no-brainer. That's it. And it is a no-brainer. Like we're not inventing something that, like, I don't know, it's not deep tech, it's not something that hasn't been like done before something. It hasn't been done before for the construction.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a given. But yeah, it's a no-brainer. But
Interesting.
no one
And I believe-
actually did that.
I believe that many in the industry spotted this gap, because that's what we hear a lot of time when we reach out to the industry.
It's a known
It's
issue.
a known issue. People faced it in many ways, but nobody did something about it.
Because you've had multiple clients actually tell you
Yes.
that, yeah, I thought about that, like in the industry. I thought about that years ago, but and I wanted to do it, but I didn't. So.
And I wished that somebody did something about
Yeah.
it. That's what the response is.
So let's dive a bit deeper in that. Yadi, why?
Because they're construction experts and not technologists and not, they're busy with their stuff. So they're not going to go out of their comfort zone and out of what they're doing to build like a tech solution for the problem. It's a good idea. They want to do it. But again, you need to put a team together to be able to deliver on it. It's not
I
just
have,
the
I
idea.
have the answer. It's not easy to find Joanna and Alejandro next to you, you know?
You're absolutely right, because one of the most fascinating setups about your team is that you have Spain, you have Cyprus, you have Dubai, you have Australia. I have like a terrific mix of experiences in your team, and it's just the three of you, right? So Joanna, product, you the inside man, and Alejandro, the tech guy, right, building it. Did you get lucky to have this setup, you think?
It's probably a bit of luck, but also it was kind of
You always chase your luck.
tactical, I would say.
No.
Because you can start a business with someone that you have the exact same skill set, but is that gonna? Yeah, it may work out, but is that powerful enough? So I think the fact that we had the right blend and complementary skills was pretty evident from the beginning, and we don't try to kind of. We know the strengths like we all bring to the table, and we know his experience. Like I'm learning about the construction industry. I'm definitely not the expert. So I know that I have to validate stuff with Sotiris before I start doing like thinking and vision and all of that. And then he knows that he can rely on, we know we can learn Alejandro for technology, and then we can talk about how do we bring that to life through product. So it's not necessarily luck. Of course, we knew each other through luck, but then you choose who you become founders with.
Yeah,
And that's,
but it's so important, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
So
most
to have
important thing.
personal and technical and divergent set of skills.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I think it's one of the most important things that you, like, it's the foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, if you don't get that right, it will bite you the ass later.
Yeah,
on.
no, 100%. Right, and the other thing that I like about you is that, like, yes, you are rooted in Cyprus. You're deeply rooted in Cyprus. You obviously care about the ecosystem, but you're also very well traveled.
Yeah.
And so you saw how and why is happening outside, and let's not lie to each other, right? Cyprus is behind in many aspects. I think we are catching up. We're catching up fast. We are small but mighty, mitzialarotzi, but it's happening. But Allah, still siga in a way, right? So what are those challenges that you saw? Obviously, there are personal challenges as well for coming back, right? So tell me about that. And I know, Joanna, me and you, we spoke a long time on this. Professional and personal challenges, Sydney to Nicosia, Sydney to Limassol.
Yeah, it's a completely different world here. The way things work here, you need a couple of years to adapt.
Wow.
The mentality.
I'm still in that process.
Yeah.
To be honest, not to mention only the negative things, as Bolsterup, we are positively surprised in the response of what we got from the market.
So there is a reception.
There is reception. I think the new generation is different because they traveled, they went out of Cyprus, and they come back and they carry this experience with them. They are ready for transition.
Yeah.
But okay, you can see these two worlds, the more classic way of functioning and the new trend.
Yeah, like we are in the transition. We are in the red and blue pill of Matrix,
Yeah.
right? So we are kind of like it's happening, but there are still two worlds colliding. And I hear many times many stories. And I remember one of the podcast episodes we had with Pablo Luiso from Wire. One of the reasons why he went away from his family business because his father told him, "You can stay, but you cannot change anything."
Oh, wow.
And he said, "Okay, I'm gonna go." And sometimes I work with many local businesses that are family businesses, and there is a conflict between the son and the daughter that traveled, wants to come back, wants to apply the change, but it can't.
I think that's exactly what it is. It's a generational change, and things are changing, and that doesn't mean that the older generation is not it's 100% of not accepting to change. Some of them are, and some of them we can also see it with some of our customers. They want to learn about like new things, digitization, and they're very into it, but it's not the majority, right?
Yeah.
But you can also like spot the visionaries, but the new generation, because most of them started outside Cyprus, so they want the change, but the system doesn't necessarily help them get there. But yeah, they're actually embracing what we're trying to do, and it's been more positive than we thought it would be, to be honest. So it's good.
And construction is one of those industries that swiped the digitalization under the carpet for many years, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So they're definitely behind other industries, but now it's just catching up with them. They have to. Now it's the wave, basically.
Trend.
It's a global trend. They have to just ride the wave, and that's what we're doing with them. So now is the time.
Yeah.
If it was 5 years ago, it would have been too early, I think.
And one of the most fascinating things about yourself is like you're not only working in an industry that is not digitalized. It's booming, but it's struggling, right? It's constant struggle on make it happen, right? So that it almost feels like they're part of a maze, right? As soon as they need to have this project gone, problems start and it's complex and everything. But you achieved 100 and plus paid subscribers on the platform before even going live. Is that true?
Yeah, it is
Absolutely
true.
true. Yeah.
How the hell did you achieve that? Because that sounds like the holy grail for any startup.
And now it's almost 200.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
It's been like 2.5 months since we went live. So
So you got paid subscriber before you actually were a thing.
before we actually had a platform to show them. Yeah.
How did you get to that?
Yeah, actually, that's true. We had customers before even having something to show to them. Only presentation. That validates the gap, basically the problem.
Amazing.
That validates that it's clear and it's known. Everybody understands it's a simple problem, and they get it, and they faced it before. So that's why.
Was it deliberate? Was it one of your?
Yeah, it was part of the validation story. So I think when we started, it was mostly Sotiris talking to the industry, doing the validation, and we always said, to validate this idea, it needs to be paid customers. So not just like family saying, yes, it's a great idea. Like, or mom saying, wonderful.
Or
So
in theory, somebody saying,
I would
I
go
would
for
pay.
it.
If you go live, I would pay. That's not validation.
yeah.
If
Yeah.
they actually pay, then that's a validation.
Yeah.
So we started, and we could see that the validation was there. So it was like a huge tick. And then we said, okay, so let's just keep doing this. And then we started building the platform, but it was actually moving quite quickly, the validation and just getting the customers through the door. So initially our goal to go live was 50 customers, because we said that's kind of a good number to have to say, yeah, I know this is a problem that I need to be working on. And then we got to 100 by December. And we went live mid-December, but yeah, it's not just us actually. It's the founding team, obviously, but we also have like an amazing team back in the office. We have a business development team and one team member that started with us very early on, and she helped us kind of accelerate growth and get where we are today. So.
Again, strong team and strong problem, right? With a simple solution.
Yeah.
So there isn't anyone else in Cyprus doing these type of things, and that we know, right? But obviously, what we know is that Cyprus is viable until a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a market that you can conquer, but you hit a ceiling, a threshold, a plateau pretty quickly. Do you guys have a out of Cyprus plan?
Absolutely.
It's already happening.
It's happening, yeah.
Right. Where?
So we already entered Greece,
Yeah.
and we are doing
Which is
quite
the
good.
natural expansion for us.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And the next stop will be UAE.
Yeah.
We already have some companies from UAE, and also a strategic investor from UAE that will help us to enter soon. So yeah, we have a plan to expand every 6 months. We're going to enter a new market.
Was it pretty aggressive?
Yeah.
Because the solution we're building is not Cyprus specific, so it's not specific to
Yeah.
a market. Obviously, we don't want to rush it too much because we want to have solid foundations, but that we're already building. And with the feedback we get from here and now from Greece, it's kind of easy for us to get to a point where we can replicate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're already in Greece. It's going really well actually, and the engagement we get from Greece is even like better compared to Cyprus, I would say, because of the acceptance to digitization and change.
They are more ready than Cyprus, and it's a bigger market also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Greece landscape also had to answer to tragical economical situation of the recent year, and digitalization was the answer to some of these problems as well. And like even like when we were talking about the accounting app that we built in Greece, is already happening from the governmental point of view. There is a digitalization that is happening in that. So it's interesting. But that brings another problem, right? So there is no competitive landscape necessarily locally, but internationally there is.
There is, but not exactly what we do again. So there's definitely lots of platforms that focus on still the demand and supply side, but for some reason they chose to focus on architects and suppliers. So they kind of exclude like everyone else. And
So the more needy people.
Yeah, maybe.
I want that wood specifically, that color.
Yeah. But at the same time, by doing that, they're still excluding everyone else, right?
Yeah.
So you're still excluding like all the consultants, all the engineers that do like amazing work, and no one knows about them.
Yeah.
Is there not a problem that if you're targeting everyone, in reality you're not targeting anyone?
That's actually, we've gotten that feedback before, but we stand by what we're saying. It's an industry where they need each other. It's a win-win. So if you just focus on niche, then you kind of reinforce the problem and the fragmentation instead of actually solving it.
And also,
You can
to
make
add on
money
that-
out of it. Yeah.
To add on that, can you build a project with just an architect or one designer, one segment, and materials, let's say? No. The whole team is needed to work together to complete a project, and each one needs each other. So that's what we are doing.
No.
It's still, you can build a very successful business out of just focusing on the demand and supply, on the architect and supplier side. There's so many of them, but you're not actually solving the problem. You're just solving it for a portion of the industry, and then you just call it a day, basically. So,
No, it's definitely interesting. And when Joanna, you were talking about the using Cyprus to solidify your foundation. What are you guys working at? What is that foundation for you?
so basically, it was all about when we said we're gonna start in Cyprus. Obviously, we're both here, so it was the natural kind of start. But Cyprus is actually a perfect testing ground, just because of how small it is.
Yeah, we every single time that this happens, like all of our guests said the same, right? And it's fascinating.
It is.
It's the perfect sandbox. I think we're gonna match up all these episodes and like just bring them together.
And then we can promote Cyprus to the rest of the...
Well, the
Tech world, come to Cyprus to test your product. Yeah.
the goal of this podcast is like putting Cyprus on a map.
Yeah. But yeah, it is the perfect testing ground because of it's a kind of a smaller market. You can actually understand the market, find ways to penetrate the market, and then you take your learnings and apply them to bigger ones.
Exactly.
And it was always kind of a bet, like with the two of us saying that if we can actually convince Cypriots to pay for this, the rest of the world will definitely pay for it. You know what I mean?
If Yorgos and Papu get it, then
Yeah, exactly.
it's almost like in New York. Like if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? Like they're saying, and it's interesting.
But the opposite.
It's interesting. And what's the vision? So what's the ultimate target?
Ultimate target for Bolsterup to be used, be like an indispensable tool that construction professionals use on a daily basis, whether that's to build, pull together the teams for their new projects, find supplies, and their implementation, not just go on a marketplace and you see some products. You can actually see where have these products been used, which is something that Sotiris wanted from day one. He's like, yeah, I'm building something, I'm looking at the facade and how we the material I use, but where have you used this before? Like, give me the credentials, give me proof, basically. And that's exactly what's not out there. Something that construction professionals will use on a daily basis, and
to become the go-to digital hub on a global scale.
Yeah. The enabler for everyone in the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have a pretty aggressive or visionary expansion plan, right? So you say that you want to target the markets fairly regularly, and there is a risk attached to that to lose a bit your culture, right? In terms of the startup, I know that you are 3 founders which are really close, complementing your skill set and getting along together. How are you going to protect the culture of Bolsterup basically during the expansion?
I think, again, it's the foundations are there in terms of all 3 of us have experienced the corporate world, the startup world. So there also has another business that he started from scratch. So we know that culture is super important. We're not building just a business that will be successful and all of that. We want to make sure that people that help us along the journey are valued and they feel valued, and they're doing this for a purpose and they share our vision. And with the team we've built here, we can see that happening. We're all just becoming a family.
Not only in Greece as well.
Yeah.
The team we have in Greece, it's the same. There is a distance from us to them, but we feel like we're a team. You feel it.
We have 3 team members in Greece now, and it's obviously it's a remote environment, but also Alejandro is in Sydney in Australia. So he's still part of the team. He's still part of the culture, obviously. He's a founder. So
you must have funny late night meetings.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. If you call Alejandro at 3 a.m., he's like, yeah, what's up? So I think we're learning how to do it through, again, actually doing it, because we do have a team here, but we also have some team members in Greece and Alejandro in Australia. So we work in a hybrid environment, essentially. And it's all about making sure that you have close contact with people, you talk to them, you listen to them, they share their ideas, and they're doing it for the right reasons as well. They share the vision. So.
Exactly.
What would you say is the biggest revelation that you had since inception to today? What is the thing that you learned the most having to do with this industry?
Question on me?
or on your startup, right? What was the aha moment, let's say, during this journey?
It needs patience.
Yeah, you need to accept criticism and turn it in a positive way. You need to accept that you're gonna face people that will judge you. Some of them towards the right direction, some of them no, but you always have to turn it towards the right direction. Use it as positive as possible.
Remember those early days when he was calling, obviously, prospects and potential users, and he had days where he would talk to people and he would be super excited, and people were completely in it.
Yeah, exactly. Very excited that I got so positive feedback, and then some other days completely the opposite, and I was devastated.
Slaps in the face. It's like these ups and downs all the time.
It's in the entrepreneurship journey, right? I think there are the ups can be very high, and the low can be very low, and that's something that I feel as well. Every day, like we are also building brands and helping others, and we know how hard it is, and how hard it is to maintain mental stability in all these up and down, right? Because we are not taught to be entrepreneurs, right? We don't really know what's happening, and one day is good, the other day is bad. But like what you said is the resilience of trying to always find positives from this journey and keep going.
Yeah, there's definitely highs and lows, and there's definitely things you think are gonna be kind of very straightforward, and then they're not.
Everyone will get it. Yes, let's do it. Nope, it doesn't.
Like, what's wrong with them?
Nope, it doesn't work. And on that note, have you ever had like a brilliant idea that in reality turned into a shitty one?
Let me think. Probably,
Thousands.
probably a lot, but we just kind of
daily.
you just delete them from your memory.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Yeah, you did have plenty of ideas before this one. He's the idea guy,
even with Bolsterup, I think it's a constant thing. We are coming up with proposals, throw them on the table, but all of us, the team as well.
No.
And that's what we like now, that we started and we were doing this between the two of us, and now it's the whole team.
Amazing.
And some ideas are good, some are not.
Amazing.
But
remember, when we really initial days, we put together a document, like a business plan that we were gonna be working on, and then when we go back to it now, we're like, just chill. Like, this is a lot of things. You're way out of. I don't know. Yeah. So all of that, most of that we scrapped, and we kind of focused on the important stuff, I would say. So.
Yeah. And how do you keep focused then in all of this?
I think it's just because it's between us, like we kind of talk a lot and try and like kind of ground each other, and we call out each other a lot as well, not in a bad way, but it's always an honest conversation as to, this is what I'm thinking, call bullshit if you have to, like, and it's just as simple as that. Yeah. And because we've known each other for like ages, it's easy to do that. There's no, I don't know, like no one is gonna have sad day about it, and bad feelings. No. So it's very important to be able to share ideas and people be honest about like giving you feedback. And the same with highs and lows. Like when we have our lows, it's not easy, but we talk to each other and obviously talk to everyone else like around us, and then it gets easier. But yeah, it's not always easy to keep focused because you want to accelerate sometimes, and the time is not right to accelerate. You have to be patient, step by step, like build a foundation and then run. So you have to walk before you run, basically. And it's always nicer when in your head you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna run now and get to Sydney tomorrow. But in the reality is I have to stick around for a bit longer and just take it step by step.
100%. I think it's one of the most common mistakes in startups, right? Approaching it as a sprint instead of approaching it as a marathon.
Yeah, exactly that. That's probably the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Noting that down, Martin.
So how let's do a little game. How important is product and technology from 1 to 10?
8.
Yeah. Team?
10.
Brand?
10.
Ooh. Having fun?
10.
Oh,
that's
11.
very important. Yeah.
Amazing. How come brand is 10?
It makes sense. Like if you're not, people are buying, like you say that all the time, and I completely resonate with that. People are buying your brand, not necessarily your product. Product is important for the function, and you need that because you're adding value. I get it. Like you need to be able to add value, and that usually happens through the product, not only through a product, but it's a good kind of portion, especially if it's tech. But brand, people are buying emotion and feelings. And what we're doing is we're trying to building a platform, but also building a vibrant community. And to do that, you need to build a brand that says that from like early in the morning till forever, basically. Yeah, just live that and breathe that.
You can build a perfect product with a lot of functionalities and stuff, but if there is no engagement, if there is no brand, no feeling, no perception, then there is nothing.
I love that. I think that's definitely gonna go into the intro, but like I think that's another manifestation of how good of an internal setup you guys have, because Sotiris, you're coming from a very technical world, right?
Yeah,
I don't think there is anything more technical and quote unquote cold than engineering, right?
Exactly. So that's
numbers solving things, right? And you having the understanding of branding, which is on the polar opposite of the hemisphere where you grew up. It just says tons about how you guys are approaching to things, and goes back into the you being three different founders from different perspectives, learning together, challenging together, and coming up together. I think it's beautiful.
We're also evolving, to be honest. Like
Exactly.
it's not,
That's the thing.
we're not the same people we used to be years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely not 10 years ago, but not even 2 years ago. We just learn and
Yeah.
we learn more about branding and about
everything
yeah.
regarding this world of
And that's right, because like companies should be fluid, should be liquid, should be human, right? With the fuck ups and the wins, the ups and the downs and the learns. I think the general problem, especially with tech startups, and I think you guys are tech in a way, because like, well, not in a way, you are tech, you have technology behind it, but also you treat technical problems like building products. So you have the digital engineering, but also the actual physical engineering, right? So it's very technical, but in reality, we are solving frustration, we are solving anxiety, we're solving trust, isn't it? Like who can I trust to build my projects, right? And I have this beautiful a project that I want, that my clients wants to do. Who the hell is gonna make it, right?
Yeah.
And you're delivering in that.
I think when you said trust, that's super important, and we feel that, and we get that from like users as well. Like we need to build trust with them. They need to know that they can actually like go on Bolsterup and find trustworthy business partners. It's not an easy thing to achieve, and that to enable that, you have to be like focus on your end goal and your vision, and make sure the branding is there and your brand actually does what it promises to do. So yeah, super important.
Yeah, 100%. And the other interesting topic of what you do is that you empower these SMEs inside the construction industry to really stand out, right? And find better opportunity. Why do you think that they're not able to do it themselves? Why can they not like do brand and marketing and website and advertise themselves properly now?
I think they don't have the mentality for this. No. They are small, they struggle with fighting as every small company to evolve, to survive day by day.
In constant survival mode, basically.
Yes, or expansion mode, and normally it's a small team or 1-2 people that do everything. So they do as much as they can, and they cannot reach the stage where they understand actually the importance of marketing, branding.
Yeah.
And it's also lack of time. Sometimes people are really like, in most cases, people are really good at what they do, like their specialization, so they can deliver on what they're supposed to be delivering on. But everything else, that's kind of a satellite to their business. So the business side, and on that I will include branding as well. It's not something that comes naturally to them, and they never have time to actually invest on that because they're busy delivering for their customers and for the.
It's that old saying that the cobbler's shoes are always broken, right? And,
fair enough,
and like we are very well equipped and very talented in helping others, but when it comes in helping ourselves, we struggle, right?
Yeah, spot on.
And so there must be a lot of education from your side as well that goes into this conversation you're having with people.
It will, but it will come like more intensely in the next few months. I would say we're still at very early stages. Like it's been 2.5 months, 3 actually now,
crazy.
Since we launched. So we're not claiming to have solved every single problem in the industry or.
But for being such a young journey, you guys have quite a lot of solid foundation behind it, I have to say.
We think so. I don't know if it's objective
Spoiler
or not.
alert.
Very solid foundation. But yeah, we're honestly infancy stages, but I think we can do like amazingly well. And that part in terms of education and making lives easier, like in terms of helping construction professionals actually accelerate themselves. That's kind of what we want to be doing.
I love that. I mean, that's a strong...
Streamlining processes,
Yeah.
and then efficiencies,
Yeah.
transparency, credibility.
Yeah, that's a strong purpose, right? So
Yeah.
you're basically simplifying their lives, right?
Yeah.
So helping
Exactly.
them,
Yeah.
helping them do more, but more efficiently, right?
Exactly.
That's beautiful. And so it's not an easy journey, right? So Sotiris, you have a successful real estate business as well, right? In Nicosia.
Yeah.
Right. So Joanna, you were very happy with your work before in Australia, beautiful country, doing well, AI and all that stuff that I know that you're passionate about it. Why?
We like challenges.
Yep.
So you don't like you don't like a stable seat then, yeah? You want to have the fire under your ass.
Apparently not, yeah. That fire needs to
Apparently
be
not.
there.
The thing is, I think we would never forgive ourselves if we wouldn't at least try it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Once in our lifetime. And I think the right time was this moment.
And we
no
will
regrets.
succeed. There's no questions about that. Like one way or another,
Yeah.
I
it
love
will
that.
succeed. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like I've been I have this business, Factory 39, for 6 years now, and we also started, the two of us, me and one of my best friends. We grew up with my girlfriend, so the three of us are very close. And what we were saying before, the ups are very up and the lows are very lows. It's almost like and it resonates with an addiction journey to me, in the way of you seek that level of uncertainty. Yeah. You seek that next unknown step, and it's almost like parachuting yourself out of the plane. You want more, you want more, you want more, you want more. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I will ever be able to go back and be employed.
No way.
Never.
And that's why there's no other way. Like I wouldn't be able to go back to
I would never
the corporate world. Yeah, no.
Actually, I'm thinking that quite often.
Yeah, same. It has to
When I
fucking
look
work
back-
because otherwise I'm fucked.
Yeah. And every time you go through the lows, you're like, wait, take a minute and think about it. It's not actually that bad, right? We can salvage this.
Yeah, I know it's weird. I think we should have rehab centers for entrepreneurs. You know,
Next business idea. It's on you though. I'm not doing that.
Just to keep them high. What's next in the short term, right? So I know that you're expanding, but like, what is your current daily focus right now?
Expanding in Greece, like continue the acceleration, and then branding and marketing, doing it properly. Super important, and not something that we're experts in, even though we cover like pretty much everything
We're
else.
learning.
But it was a very good definition. Yours.
Yeah. We're learning, but we need to put as much effort as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the product there?
We're getting there. So obviously we have limited resources at this point. So it's all about investing in product and investing in branding and marketing. And then I think we'll just fly. Like everything else is set in place. Like we have a process. We know how to do it. It's just putting the right pieces of the puzzle in place right now and just riding the wave. So.
And I know that you love AI. Is AI going to be part of it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But going back to you need to walk before you run. Initially, the business plan was all about AI.
Yeah, I remember
the
that.
sexy stuff. Right? But before getting to the sexy stuff, you need to build the foundation, and that's what we're
get the
building
basic
right now.
rights. Yeah.
Get the data digitized first, which is missing from the construction industry, and then we can do the sexy stuff.
You know,
For now,
there was one guy that we had a chat with about Bolsterup, and it was at the very initial stages. So we were still saying the bigger picture with everything AI related and stuff. And the response was, whoa. Don't promise me the moon.
Siga. Paragalo.
Exactly. tell me something which is viable and you can actually execute at this stage and then take it step by step.
Was the mentor this person?
And
No,
not
just someone
really.
we spoke to at some point.
Good
like,
answer,
introduction.
Yeah, that was spot on. So for me, that was a turning point. And I think for both of us at that moment, we had a chat and we said, okay, he's absolutely right. We need to take it step by step. And that's what we are doing.
But even now, we do have to explain that to people, especially when talking to investors. Sometimes they will challenge us and be like, okay, so what's the... They won't say the sexy stuff, but that's what they mean, because everyone is into like AI and deep tech and all of that. And what's the technology behind it? And our answer, and we stick by it, and we will always stick by it, is we need to build the foundation first. We can do the AI, like the technology is there. Like we're not going to invent something new, but we can build on what's already out there. That thing we know we can do. But if we don't have the basics right, that's never going to work. But not everybody appreciates that, if I'm being honest.
It's interesting, and also you guys went live in a very weird period for VCs. We're kind of like at a few years back, pre-pandemic, during pandemic, or right after pandemic. Like they were opening their wallets very willingly. Now it's the complete opposite, right? It almost looks like the taps are closed. Yeah. Have you guys bred that?
I
Let's
think
say
they're being more careful, but I think they had to go into that more, to be honest.
So it was too far on one side.
It was crazy. You would hear, even when I was back in Sydney, you would hear about like startups getting funded left, right, and center, and you're like, but why? Like, why are they getting so much money? Why are the valuations so high? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I think for normalizing the situation, you have to you start from here, you go down here, and then it will be normalized. Yeah. So they're a bit more picky, I get it. And yeah, it's harder to get funded, but I'm hoping they're a bit more cautious about their investments. And
but rightly so, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it should be hard to get funded.
Yeah, absolutely. And also another thing from our experience so far, like when you're looking for investors, you need to make sure that they are also you're also interviewing them. It's not in one way route. Like if you're going to have someone on your cap table, you need to make sure that you can actually communicate with them and actually your thoughts are aligned. And we've experienced that.
It's part of the team.
Yeah.
It's not just a loan from a bank, it's
it's a relationship, isn't it?
It's a relationship,
Absolutely.
exactly.
We're gonna be on a dinner table or family dinner table, right? And I think a lot of time startups also are too eager to get that money, and they forget that it's a binary relationship, right? So you give and take, and again, especially for you have this beautiful triptych of people involved, and you need to be protective in a way of
Absolutely.
people that you
and
are.
We've met investors that we had both cases. We had calls where okay, we actually can communicate with these people, very positive feeling. We can actually learn from them. They understand what we're doing. And then sometimes we went
totally
off calls and we're looking at each other. We're like, no, that's not going to work out. That's a big no. And it may have been a no from their side, but it was definitely a no from our side because it wasn't clicking, and you don't want to do that. You don't start a relationship like that.
No, makes sense. So the good side of Cyprus is the perfect sandbox, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tight community. We know that the construction industry has a demand for the problem that you have. What would you say is the less good stuff of Cyprus?
Less opportunities, I guess, in terms of tech, in the startup ecosystem.
Yeah, it's quite small. The technology ecosystem here. So
that's why your tech team is in Australia, yeah?
Our tech founder is in Australia. The tech team is probably going to be in Greece. But eventually maybe in Australia. Very expensive though. So we'll get there at some point. But yeah, there's definitely more opportunities in Sydney.
You couldn't find someone to support locally, you think?
In where?
In
Cyprus.
We could.
That was very hard.
Yeah, it was hard, but maybe potentially yes. We're not saying we're not going to do that, but there's also a lot of talent in Greece, so we'll see.
Yeah, so it's the pro and cons of the size, right? So it's good to test. Everyone knows each other, but then choice is limited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then obviously people are harder to accept change, but as we said before, we are actually positive suppliers.
I think that's Mediterranean though, right? I grew up in Italy, and I think it's the same, right? So it's always been this way. Why should it change? It has to be that way.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to have a simple brand and a simple kind of communication. This is what we can do for you, right?
But
Or
I actually
build that
have a
trust.
very funny story on that. Remember when Joanna was saying the other day, not me, just one of our team members, she was saying she spoke to someone probably 4 or 5 months ago when we were still like at the validation stage. And she said, this is what we're doing. We're building Bolsterup, blah, blah, blah. And the response was quite intense and in the tone of, this is never going to work. This is Cyprus. Just like, what are you talking about? Basically?
This is Cyprus. I heard it before.
Hang up, right? She reached out because she likes doing that. She reached out last week and he was like, yeah, I'll sign up. So where do I pay? Because it's also a formal kind of thing. Everybody around you is doing it. So you have to adapt, like whether you want it or not, you have to adapt eventually.
George Wu from Mighty Kitchen told us pretty much the same things. You need to have the validation before having the acceptance, right? So
Fair.
they're strictly connected. And I think that's a pro of Cyprus, though. I think that if you manage to position yourself successfully in the market, to have people talking about you, word of mouth is terrific in Cyprus. I think everything still works with word of mouth, right? So
Totally
going back
agree.
into the basics of branding and marketing, right? Just having that good impression and having that waterfall effect still works. But yeah, you're right. I think that's one of the other things. If people talk about you, they see you, you're validated, then they get the FOMO.
And that's why branding is super important,
Yeah.
especially in a country like Cyprus, because if you nail that, then people will just come to you, not the other way around. So that's what you want to achieve.
What would you say to a Cypriot living abroad and listening here and thinking about coming back?
Brace yourself.
Prepare for crash landing.
Definitely crash landing, yeah.
No, it's not that bad. I believe that everywhere you stay, there are pros and cons.
Amen.
Okay, everywhere. So you need some time to adapt. That's a fact. Even in Australia, I remember when I went, and it's the best place in the world, but I still needed a couple of months to adapt. Here, you need a bit more, but okay.
So
Maybe a year,
you do
and then
realize
it's
he's the
okay.
level-headed guy in the situation. I'm not. So I would say, crash landing. It will take you years to actually adapt. There's definitely pros,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Think about it.
I left London when I was dried, right? So I think I went to London. I loved it. I stayed there 7-8 years, and I think London is a city that gives you a lot, but also takes you a lot.
Yeah.
And I ended up in the toxic cycle of one day after the other. You're part of big cog, big mechanism. You are no one, and you end up kind of being part of this thing, and you realize that time flies, and you lost so much time. And I think I was in a mental state where I needed to have a place where I had more control and more proximity, better weather patterns, better food. I think the quality of life of Cyprus compared to a big city, personally, is not comparable.
Okay.
The safety, proximity, the people, the support network that you get, and as well, like most of the people are really nice, and there's a big strong of family and community thing. So. But as you said, Sotiris, like I think you never want to be happy anywhere. Like I miss Amazon Prime.
That's a good point.
Miss it 6 years
enough,
here. I still miss it. I miss concerts. Like
Yeah.
I remember I was just going outside without planning and going to concerts, and but it's a perfect place for a family.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think, great food,
and even
great
build like
weather.
a close circle around you with the people you actually communicate with, and like your family and friends.
Yeah.
Close circle, you're just golden.
You will miss a lot of stuff, but it's quality of life. I think way above in terms of being better fit for humans. I think that in London.
Totally.
But I think the truth is also the other way around. I think all Cypriots should travel. Like I grew up in Venice, which is a small island, right? And I have friends that are still in Venice, and
Small place.
that they grew up and they're in Venice, right? So we still have this island mentality. I think we should all go out and all come back, and that's the richness of Cyprus, right?
Yeah.
You guys represent the richness of Cyprus.
And honestly, we want to make right of it. Like irrespective of what we say, we love Cyprus. Like, this is
Yeah.
our home, and we'll be so proud if Cyprus was like a tech island and people will come. And this can actually happen. It's just
It is
up to
happening,
us
I
to
think,
make it
yeah.
happen. So
Yeah.
It's our generation that
It is our
has
generation.
to do the
No.
shift.
No.
getting there, slowly, but
100%.
getting there. Yeah.
Right. So to close it up, the last just three important things. Like, what would you suggest to a local founder wanting to start up something during your journey, during your experience somewhere else, during your experience from a more traditional business going into more kind of like uncertain territories as a startup? If there was one thing, what would you give to them?
So I was gonna hurt me, and then so plan it properly. Don't promise the moon. Be realistic with the planning targets. Choose the right team. The team should have come first, to be honest. I put it as number one. And then be agile enough to shift towards the right direction.
If it needs to.
Yeah.
No. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Anything
agreed.
to add on that?
Founding team, like, just choose your founding team wisely and validate.
Perfect. Who would you like to see on this show next, and why?
Oh,
Ooh.
I think you need to do a podcast with your co-founder.
Oh, it's got Inception. And then, okay.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you need to do that.
Well, now that it's been recorded, we cannot say, we can say no.
Like, force him down. You need to do a podcast. That's it.
Brilliant. Do you guys have a joke for us?
Joke. I did have one. I forgot it.
You forgot it.
You were saying to me before
What was
how
it?
many contractors takes,
Yeah. Go for it.
how many contractors it takes to change a bulb.
I'll let you know when they get back to me.
Oh, brilliant. Joanna, Sotiris, thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you so much.
good luck. You guys have a real good things, and there is much need for people like you on the island.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having
much.
us,
Yeah.
and same back at you.
Yeah.
We need
Cheers.
you in this island. Just stay
exactly.
here. Don't go anywhere, and just build the ecosystem.
Thank you,
Brand
guys.
them.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you.